Hey there, and welcome to the very first episode of Investing.com's own Fair Value Corner, where we sit down with CEOs of publicly traded companies to chat about what they think about their valuations, as well as the current trends in the market and sector. I'm Tom Monteiro, Investing.com's global analysis lead, and for our kickoff episode, we've got Ed Nabrotzki here with us today. Ed's the CEO of .ai, a breakthrough player in the AI supply chain world, gearing up for their NASDAQ debut coming very soon. A little mystery around that date, so who knows, maybe Ed will let us know today. So anyway, thanks for joining us today, Ed.
Glad to be here. Excited to talk to everyone.
So Ed, lots of interesting stuff to talk about, by the way, on top of AI valuations, particularly for the smaller niche players, which is a topic I'm sure everyone is interested in learning more about. We've got IPOs. Is the long winter coming to an end? Also, what's happening with DeepSeek in China? I'm sure you have an insider view on that, at least I hope.
Yes.
And finally, I like to discuss how companies are rethinking their supply chains, amid all the buzz going around with tariffs. Can AI help mitigate some of those risks? Not to take too much time of anyone, let's just jump straight into what matters, right? To kick things off, Ed, can you just introduce yourself and .ai for us very quickly?
Yes. .ai is a great new company that I hope everyone's going to have interest in. Really a core hypothesis that asset management and logistics tracking is a really rich environment to apply AI technology to. It's a complex thing with lots of material and vendors and people and machinery moving through it, and it's impossible for any humans to keep up to it. So our hypothesis is that that's going to be a really disruptive technology for this particular market, and we're really well positioned to take care of that with innovative edge data gathering technology and, of course, AI engines on the top.
So Ed, looking at data from InvestingPro, it seems that valuations from peer companies that are already public, can vary widely. That contradicts a little bit the common sense, which tells that everyone is overvalued, right? So, according to our data, and you're seeing screenshots now, C3 AI, for example, is overvalued by almost 20%. While you look at Spensify, they're undervalued by 30% at the same time. And then you have Arteries, which is overvalued by another 30%. Do you think these valuations make sense? Or do you think the market still needs to learn how to value AI companies that are not NVIDIA a little better?
I think that anytime new technology emerges, there's an excitement in the market and investors tend to overvalue that. Everyone wants to be part of a disruption and they want to take advantage of the great performance that happens with true disruption. But I think sorting out who the real disruptors are and where the real technology applies is the hard part. And I'm really grateful we're in the niche we are. In asset management, logistics, it's an area where there's a real practical application of AI. This isn't theoretical. There's real use cases with real customers and a real value being proposed. And I think that's where the value can be a little bit more solid. It's a little easier to assess what that impact is. But I think in general, I think there's a mixture in the market. There's some overvalued companies. There's some that really are undervalued. The people don't understand what they really bring yet.
One characteristic that seems to be common for all of them is sort of a negative net income to company. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing more screenshots from InvestingPro right now. And this is obviously mainly due to the high CapEx, right, in the space. Data processing costs a lot of money, right, to put it in plain English. Where do you see this cycle turning and how?
Yeah, well, you've seen some of that with the DeepSeek news and things that are happening. But I think CapEx light type models are what's going to dominate, certainly in our space. That's what we are promoting. The kind of data gathering capability and the processing capability that's much more focused and isn't so CapEx heavy. I think that's where you'll see that emerge, and the valuations will be better. So I think from our perspective in the marketplace, getting to profitability is about providing that real value and not over processing or investing more CapEx or infrastructure to achieve the result than is necessary. We spend a lot of time doing that, optimizing our infrastructure.
And where do you see that profitability cycle turning? Is it too far? Mm-hmm. Is it 10 years later down the road, or is it, tomorrow? How do you see that?
I think it's closer to tomorrow than it is 10 years. And again, it varies. It's really hard to paint with a broad brush here. It varies by industry. For our industry, for instance, we have some lighthouse customers emerging from our pipeline that are really practically applying this AI technology immediately. We filed an 8K in November last year announcing one of those large customers and talking about their global expansion using our technology and our system. And they'll be contributing right away. We have really good gross margins on our sales. We have a SaaS-based model on the software side. So, I don't think profitability has to be so far away. For us, it certainly isn't far away. But the company has to take a more practical, as I mentioned, CapEx light approach to their market space to really achieve the profitability that's necessary.
Taking this to a little bit in light of the whole DeepSeek situation that you mentioned briefly, Is this an actual game changer for the industry, or are you hoping to get cheaper AI technology in the future? How do you see that, or is the market just overreacting?
Well, yeah, there's a mixed story there too. It's hard to characterize it completely, but for years in technologies, we've seen technologies developed as a core technology in the U.S., and then China or others become fast followers where they make innovations or improvements. I think the DeepSeek innovation would have been predictable had we thought about it in that framework. I'll put my old professor hat on as I used to teach business courses at university.
Okay.
So the fact that that's happening should not surprise anyone. We'll see more of it as people get more focused on improving the learning modules and the models, using different technologies to get to the objective. And I think we'll keep seeing downward pressure on both the processing costs and the model training costs that DeepSeek is showing and proving. So it's a good thing for the industry, though. For us, we're excited that there's less expensive toolkits to achieve the ends that we need, especially some of the image processing capability that DeepSeek has brought forward at a really inexpensive price has helped us. So I think it's really positive for players like us in the marketplace.
And just switching things over to IPOs a little bit, is this the right time to go public? I mean, we're not seeing lots of companies going public still. I mean, we're expecting more companies, but it still hasn't materialized.
Mhm.
So what do you think about that? And why did you decide to go public right now?
Yeah, you always have to guess where the market's going to be, which is a hard part, and you have to try and time it for your company. The company decision's easier. For us, we're emerging from that pre-revenue stage with real customers coming out of our pipeline. They're demanding global support and expansion to support their commercial programs. We need that public market capital to be able to satisfy our customer needs. And so for us, it's absolutely the right time to expand and drive that capital raise. In terms of the market, I think the market's been down a little bit. And that means there's money on the sidelines that can come back in. I think that the new administration here in the U.S. is really disrupting everything. Talk about disruption. And that's causing a lot of thought about where to invest and where to go. Again, for us as a U.S.-based company with U.S.-based manufacturing, we can take advantage of some of the policy shifts that are happening here and be more attractive. So my belief is that the market is going to value the kinds of companies that like us that can play in that new paradigm. And I think there's money on the sidelines that's going to come back in. But it is hard. Any tech bubble like AI was very hot for a while, and there was a little bit of a cooling off, especially on the IPO side. But I think there's still money on the sidelines that wants to come in and invest in this space.
And when you talk about the new policy shifts that are happening at the same time, I mean, are we talking about tariffs as a whole? And what's your view on? I mean, that's obviously a problem that concerns you very deeply, right? So
For sure.
first of all, how do you see that?
Well, we fortunately made the decision to set up our manufacturing in Puerto Rico a while ago. And that means we're protected largely from the tariffs. Of course, there's some supply chain implications, but I think we're in a really good position. Most of the competitors in our space are buying core products from China, from other countries that are going to hit with these tariffs. So for us, it's a positive. It should help us to grow at a time, maybe over the next 4 years, where we can really expand and take advantage of our position. In terms of other policy initiatives that are coming out of the administration, things like investments in AI and leaning forward into some of the technologies to dominate them for the next generation. The CHIP Act's money that came out of the last administration. These are all real positives for us, and we think we're in a really good environment, to expand for what we're doing.
More theoretically, can AI technology actually help counterbalance some of these tariff issues? I mean, obviously, you're talking about logistics AI and applied AI for logistics. I mean,
Yes.
how do you see that?
Anytime you have these pressures on a market, it's always downward price pressure. You've got to make up for those tariffs in different ways. So absolutely, using our system reduces your labor costs, it reduces your loss, it reduces your inefficiencies and gets you more on time in terms of your deliveries. All those things can help offset some of the negative impacts of tariffs coming into the marketplace. So for companies that are looking for those efficiencies and looking to find ways to squeeze out a little bit more to compensate for the tariffs that are going to be taken, I think that it's a great time for us, and to use our technology can help in that way. Our government markets are similar. I mean, we have a segment that sells to military and government in our company, and they're looking now with some of the cuts going on with Doge and the administration, how do we become more efficient? And it's another place that our technology can really play. So it's hard for me to see a place that isn't positive with the new administration for our particular position. And it seems like we'll benefit from a lot of these things that are happening in the market space.
And more broadly on AI valuations, I mean, Do you think that, AI efficiency is going to keep driving valuations higher and higher, or do you think that, other factors are going to start counterbalancing? Where are we going to see peak, right? Because obviously the whole narrative has been, oh, efficiency is going to drive everything higher and higher, higher forever because, simply because costs are going to be lower for everything. But we haven't seen that materialize so far. And this has been a key topic actually during this last earnings season, right? Are we nearing peak valuation, or how do you see that part? Looking at the AI cycle as a whole.
I definitely think in terms of overall AI, when you're talking about the overall market, generative AI and the LLMs that are out there, I think we have a few more years of runway of fermentation where this period of ferment will continue to spawn hyper competitive behavior between the big players. And as always, you get a consolidation after that, and then things start to mature out. What also happens when you have technologies like that are foundational, they spawn a whole ecosystem of additional applications underneath them. So we're all excited about ChatGPT and OpenAI things and DeepSeek because they touch our lives directly, and it's a consumer-based play, with LLMs. But I think the real value then comes as that boils down into the niche applications like logistics, where you use those technologies to solve real-world problems that underpin, the business infrastructure. So I would say that we're going to go through that period of fermentation for a few more years. Dominant models are going to emerge, and then the valuation cycle continues with the next layer of application-specific adoption, and that's what we should see. So I would say AI is going to be with us for another good decade or two as it evolves, but the very public churn that's going to go on with the big players will happen for a few more years yet.
So Ed, I just want to thank you and everyone else who took time out of their busy schedules to be here with us today. This is the first episode of our series, so please stay tuned. We've got lots of great names lined up. And also, if you're big on stock markets, I want to invite you to check out InvestingPro's best-in-class data offering. This includes a fair value estimate for every company listed in the market globally. So check out the link on the description and learn how to beat the market like the pros. So Ed, thank you once again for being here, and hope to see you again soon.
Well, it's my pleasure. And as you mentioned before about teasing our go public date, we'll be there by the end of the month.
Yeah.
So everyone watch for our ticker symbol, DAIC, on the NASDAQ.
And watch the valuation on InvestingPro as well.